much-awaited and high-voltage meeting between Ukraine's President Zelenskyy and Donald Trump took place yesterday. As you know, a meeting between Putin and Donald Trump had occurred in Alaska a few days ago. The topic of when the war between Ukraine and Russia will end is now a widely discussed issue around the world. Donald Trump has inserted himself into this matter and has begun holding one meeting after another. He is meddling in the entire affair, aiming for a ceasefire. Yesterday, a meeting was held with Zelenskyy and Donald Trump. In fact, there were two meetings yesterday. The first was a private meeting between Zelenskyy and Donald Trump, followed by a second meeting with leaders from various European countries, President Zelenskyy and Donald Trump. During this meeting, Donald Trump himself called Russian President Putin. This was confirmed by the Russian side as well. All in all, the situation is becoming increasingly complex, as the outcome of yesterday's meeting is not at all satisfactory. An even more interesting point is that Donald Trump has involved his own wife in all this. Yesterday, Donald Trump's wife wrote a letter to Putin and made some specific demands. By involving his wife in this war-related discussion, Donald Trump is trying to create an emotional angle. No expert seems to understand this diplomatic move. This is a step that is usually taken when a person is defeated logically or in terms of power. Previously, when Trump met with Zelenskyy, Trump did not give him much importance. During that meeting at the White House, Zelenskyy was insulted at every step. The situation was so bad that Zelenskyy was even ridiculed for the clothes he was wearing. But yesterday, Zelenskyy handled the whole situation differently. Perhaps the other European leaders taught him how to handle Donald Trump. From the very beginning, Zelenskyy started praising Donald Trump excessively by saying things those Trumps to hear, such as he is getting a Nobel Prize, he is the messenger of peace for the world cannot function without him. Zelenskyy started to butter up Trump from the start. As a result, at the end of this meeting, Donald Trump, Zelenskyy, and all the European leaders were happy because no unpleasant incidents occurred. But were the solutions for which the meeting was held found? The one-word answer is no. A conflict on some issues between Donald Trump and the European leaders came out in the open. First of all, who were present from Europe at this meeting? In the second meeting, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, the European Commission President, French President Emmanuel Macron, the German President, the Italian President, the UK Prime Minister, and even the Finnish President were present. This means that the European leaders did not leave Zelenskyy alone this time. The video of the previous meeting had been embarrassing for the European leaders. So, this time they entered the White House with Zelenskyy. Geographically, Ukraine is located between Europe and Russia. Ukraine is a country that is essentially protecting Europe from Russia. The European countries fear that if Russia occupies Ukraine, they might advance towards Europe next. This is why they want to give full support to Ukraine. So, what happened in this meeting? First, the European leaders told Donald Trump from the beginning that they must provide NATO security to Ukraine. Ukraine also demanded to be made a NATO member. Although Donald Trump initially dismissed this demand, he later assured the European leaders that NATO security could be provided. The Ukrainian president then said that this security must be officially announced with an affidavit within 7 to 10 days. The Ukrainian president also demanded that a $90 billion fund be created to protect them. He also requested that NATO countries help them with air defense, aircraft, and other issues. Secondly, Donald Trump first said that they should at least make a peace deal first, and then there will be a ceasefire. But the European leaders said that there would be no peace deal between Ukraine and Russia beforehand. First, Russia must stop the war, and then they will think about a peace deal. The European leaders suspect that the peace deal means ending the war on certain conditions. Russia told Trump that it would only agree to a ceasefire if the highly prosperous Donbass region of Ukraine, Donetsk and Luhansk, is handed over to Russia. Russia has already occupied 75% of this area, but has not yet been able to take the remaining 25%. The peace deal proposal was that Ukraine would hand over these two areas to Russia, and Russia would keep the other occupied areas, including Zaporizhzhia, Kherson, and Crimea. But Ukraine said, first, stop the war, and then there will be peace talks. Echoing Ukraine's statement, the European Union told Donald Trump, Mr. President, please don't ask for a peace deal first. First, tell Russia to stop the war. Because of this clear conflict, Donald Trump left the meeting and called Putin. Thirdly, Donald Trump is trying to organize a trilateral meeting where Zelenskyy, Putin, and he himself will be present. But Putin is currently not willing to meet with Zelenskyy. A statement has also come from the Ukrainian side, saying that they are definitely ready to talk to Russia, but any agreement regarding their territory will be settled only by them and Russia. Donald Trump should not interfere in this matter. This means that there is a clear conflict over not including Ukraine as a NATO member. a peace deal before a ceasefire, and the exchange of territory. The European Union and Ukraine's demand is that the 75% of the Donbass region that Putin has occupied must be handed back to Ukraine. Fourthly, just one day before the meeting, Donald Trump's wife, the First Lady of the U.S., wrote a letter to Putin. In the letter, she mentioned that Russia has detained many children during this war. Similarly, Ukraine has also detained some Russian children. Mrs. Donald Trump demanded in the letter that these children be released. Yesterday, at the meeting, Ukraine and the European Union countries made the same demand to Trump, asking for arrangements to be made for the release of prisoners of war. Donald Trump has heard this and has promised to pursue it with Russia. All in all, while no significant solution came out of yesterday's meeting between Zelenskyy and Donald Trump, one thing is clear. Control is starting to slip from Trump's hands. Neither Ukraine nor the European Union is listening to Trump now. Everyone is opposing Trump's proposal regarding a ceasefire and a peace deal. The situation for Trump has become so critical that he called Putin during the meeting to request a new meeting. And by involving his wife in the entire matter, he has made the situation even more complicated. Overall, yesterday's meeting might get a score of 1.5, but no solution has emerged yet. Instead, Donald Trump's failure has been further established.